Well, hello and welcome to the Moto Mash, brought to you by the Midweek Mashed Tattie. I'm your host, Harvey. With me today, as usual, is Michael and Paul. How are you doing today, lads?
Very well.
Where else would I rather be?
Oh, hell.
Right here. Didn't expect that, did you?
No. Well, my... you don't know. You know what I know when my brain went there. Anyways, I could think of some places you would rather be.
Slightly more concerned than I was at the start of the musical number.
Oh, great.
Moving on.
So, hi. I was just about to do that myself there, Michael. Well, say welcome back after a wee break there from the old F1.
Hiatus, if you will.
The wee hiatus, yes. Obviously we had the mandatory 2-week break. Sorry, not mandatory 2-week break. We had the F1 summer break, and in the F1 summer break there is a mandatory shutdown. Yes. Do you know much about the mandatory shutdown?
Well, it's a shutdown and it's mandatory.
Yes.
My understanding is that there's like a 2-week period where they're not allowed to develop new stuff for the cars and etc. But I don't know any details.
In the summer break, all the teams have to do a mandatory shutdown. It's for 14 consecutive days, where they're pretty much not allowed to do anything. They're not even allowed. So, no, the drivers can't go in the simulators.
Mm-hmm.
The teams can't work on anything like no development, no car design, no parts production, planning, can't do anything in the wind tunnels, kind of machine parts. No meetings. Yeah, they can't even have meetings, team meetings or anything like that. During that time, they are allowed to repair the car, a damaged car, but they need to gain permission from the FIA to do so. So, most teams kind of try and take their 14 days, like in the middle of the summer break. So they get a week a day and stuff, and then 2-week break, and then come back and get their car sorted. But they can take it at any time they want. So literally the day after the race, what was it, Hungary? Aye. The day after that, they could have took their 2 weeks, 2-week break, and then came back and been working for 2 weeks. So, so mandatory 2-week break so that everybody gets a wee bit of rest. You know, the drivers and even the team, like folk working on the development of the car and stuff like that, they get a wee break as well, which is pretty cool. So this week we had the Belgian Grand Prix. Qualifying was a bit weird because I think six drivers, 6 drivers took penalties, so they were all starting at the back of the grid. So throughout qualifying, basically they were just running to see who would start further up than the other ones at the back. Which Max Verstappen, he was the fastest overall in qualifying. So he started 14th, let's say. 15th, actually. That's a lie. 15th. What was really strange about this qualifying was after qualifying was done, not one single driver started the race in the position that they qualified because of these penalties and stuff, which is crazy. That's wild. I mean, qualifying wasn't really... there was nothing in there of... nothing really surprising. I would say. The Mercedes, I thought they were supposed to... I mean, there was chat of them coming back and their cars would be really up to par this one. And
it was rumoured they were bringing a big upgrade.
Aye. But What that was, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if that was just an expectation or if there was something they were expected to bring that they didn't bring to this weekend. I'm not sure, but if anything, they seem to take a backward step in qualifying.
Well, maybe they'd brung the upgrade, fitted it, and didn't really turn it to be an upgrade, did it? I actually said to you guys in our group chat that this would be a great week for Mercedes to get that win. Just because I knew that one of the Red Bulls and one of the Ferraris were starting to be back. So, Hamilton and Russell had this opportunity to have a good qualifying session and then use strategy to get Mercedes the first win of the season. But it didn't really work out that way. I said that before qualifying and stuff as well. So I think if I seen qualifying, I don't think I would have made that statement. Just seeing how they were going through qualifying. The start of the race was pretty hectic, I must say. Hamilton and Alonso coming together. Latifi spinning himself out, and feel so bad for Bottas. He's trying to get out the way of Latifi. If he doesn't get out the way of Latifi, he's just going to smash into him. He's going to rip off his front end, rip off Latifi's front end, and damage his front end as well. And then God knows whatever, he could have spun off or whatever. But he tries to avoid it, hits the grass that sends him into a wee spin. He doesn't hit the barriers or anything, but he just gets caught in the gravel trap and unfortunately couldn't move. I mean, just thinking myself about if I was bought, I would be raging if that happened to me.
Yep.
Like, I'd be waiting for Latifi at the end of that race. I'm talking to you if anything else.
To be fair, like by the time you get to Formula One, although it's like a high pressure situation and everything else, you've been in enough races to kind of keep your chill with things like that. Like, as annoying and frustrating as it was, like it's a racing incident, you've just got to live and let live.
Maybe we just can understand that these things can happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
These days, I remember back in the day when stuff used to happen and they would go for each other. They were the days.
There's a few times over the years where drivers have been swinging punches and other things.
But it's very frustrating. But
I mean, I know, like, if somebody comes the proverbial when you're just like driving on the road, cutting you off or whatever it might be, or randomly turning with no indicator or anything to warn you and stuff like that, like the frustration builds up quick in these sort of incidents. So you can only imagine in like the kind of high pressure situation that they're in
when you're actually competing,
the competitive driving, and the speeds that they're doing and everything else. Like so, the tempers they're bound to flare at times.
I mean, look at what Alonso said about Hamilton. Like straight away when, like, this guy only knows how to start in first or what? Like, do you know what I mean? It was funny at the time, but it's a bit dickish, isn't it?
I still think it's very funny.
I still think it's funny too. Like, do you know what I mean?
Effectively cut a promo on his radio to his radio guy, knowing that everybody would hear it. Provided a bit of entertainment for sure.
I think, but he called him an idiot as well, didn't he? Which is
some about what's he doing. This idiot only knows how to drive first.
What's this idiot? He only knows how to drive from drive in first place, start in first place. That's what he said. I think after it, they asked Hamilton about it, and at first he didn't want to hear what during the race actually, and he didn't want to hear what he said. I think after the race he's heard what he said, and there's some stuff out there saying like Lewis Hamilton's pretty much say like it's nice to know what he thinks about me, you know what I mean? So but he did admit it was 100% his fault, so I mean that's good.
That's like a step in the right direction, isn't it?
Aye.
That's very, very. Didn't expect that. I'm not going to lie.
See, the thing is, it's the just to talk about that incident quickly. Like, obviously, it's Hamilton going round the outside of the Alonso on the overtake, and he's well ahead of him and everything else. He's claimed the corner, but he still has to leave space for Alonso. Alonso can't magically disappear, and Hamilton's turned in too far, and they've made contact. But rear wheel to Alonso's front, but it's a funny one because, like, in an ideal world, like, Hamilton's won that corner, so then Alonso should back fully out, and Hamilton should be able to take the racing line. But like, it's clearly in the racing directive and the rules now. Like, he has to leave space for him.
Yep.
Like, Alonso doesn't have to slam the brakes and abort mission on the corner. Like, so, like, in a kind of ideal situation, you would, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm struggling for words here, but like, you would like to think in an ideal situation, if you've overtaken somebody and you've clearly won the corner, that they would stay out of the road and let you just go. But like, it's racing, and that's the rules.
That's the rules, aye.
Yeah, they're all in it to win it.
Aye. That's how it is, man. So aye, hectic start to the race. Ferrari just doing Ferrari things very early on in the race.
Aye, the Ferrari were.
I think they were like one of the first to come in
this race, man. In this weekend, I should say.
Right.
It started in qualifying.
Yeah. Yep.
Like Leclerc in Q3, Leclerc's final run, they sent him out rather than sending him out in some scrub soft tyres so they could set a decent time, but not wasting a new set, knowing that they were getting punted to the back of the grid.
That's right. They put
the wrong tyres on him. They put a brand new set of softs on him, and so I had to go and do a lap and a bit, and softs. Bloody idiots, man. And then, like, right up to the point where he's starting the flying lap, he's like on the radio with them, like, so what are we doing here? Am I changing these? Like, and they're like, no, just do the lap.
Aye, just do the one lap. Well, he was only sent out there to give Sainz a.
That was him. That was him doing his lap. That was his qualifying lap. I think he'd set a time. He was going out for his second run or something, or maybe it was his first run in Q3. I can't quite remember. But then he had to plunder back round, and he wasn't making it in time for him to then do another attempt, because he hadn't went hard on his out lap, because there was this back and forth about whether or not he was going in. Ended up doing a flying lap, but he hadn't hit the tyres up, so he didn't set a good time. So he was like middle of the pack. And then because of all the faff, he wasn't making it back in time to get back out for a lap. However, they decided last minute to put him out to give Sainz a toll. But all he did is he didn't get a flyer, and he just went out and basically did an out lap. So he left the pit just enough time that he was allowed to be on the track. Right. And he gave Sainz a toll down the first straight.
Aye. I remember the first straight, but I missed all that then.
But aye.
I was busy doing other stuff when I was thinking, but
it was stupid is what it was.
Aye. It was it definitely was, aye.
And the way they timed it, like, Leclerc just made it out in front of Sainz, so Sainz actually had to adjust what he was doing, and it actually messed up his first sector. So it ended up not helping him.
Right. So, Ferrari.
Right.
Ferrari.
Obviously, in the race,
Aye, in the days.
Pulled Leclerc in far too early.
Aye, like, why? I have no idea. And then,
And put him in
it's
mediums
just
for inexplicable reasons.
aye, mediums to then go to mediums to then to soft over the last 2 laps. I'm like, what? I mean, the last 2 laps, I get it was for the to try and set the fastest lap to get an extra point or whatever, but they didn't do it early enough for a start.
Yep.
And they brought him in when he was in danger of getting overtaken from Alonso, which actually happened. He came out, so
came out right in front of Alonso, and Alonso
just went swoosh. So they didn't give him enough time for that. So then he's behind Alonso, having to try and get past Alonso to try and set the fast lap. The only thing that you could say is, well, he could get DRS down the straight. Well, yeah, I'll give you a fraction in a second. I don't think it's going to be enough to get you to set a fastest lap. But ultimately what happened was that he couldn't set the fastest lap. When he was coming out the pits, they were in the radio saying that Alonso's coming. Okay, so he's sped up, which now he's got a 5-second penalty. So even if he was past Alonso, he would have been brung back behind him. So he finishes in 6th place. Less points. Didn't set the fastest lap. So, I mean, like,
yep.
Aye. It's just terrible. I mean, if you're the boss of Ferrari, you must be thinking, like, right, Binotto's got to go. Binotto, right? Is his name?
Oh, you're the name guy.
Sorry? The
Ferrari
name
man.
guy? Oh, Matteo Binotti, aye.
Binotti. I can never say, I always say Binotto. Aye, Binotti. I would be like, if I'm the boss of Ferrari, I'd be like, Binotti has to go. Might as well. The season.
Sorry, it is Binotto.
It is Binotto, right? Okay, there you go.
You caught me cold there, man.
So, I'd be saying Binotto can go. The season's done now. Like, Verstappen's 93 points in front of Leclerc. In fact, Leclerc's not even his closest rival. It's Perez. What am I talking about? Perez took over the thing today, I'm sure. Charles Leclerc. So, aye. Season's done. We're not getting the Constructors' Championship. Might as well bring in a new team principal. Let him, get his toes wet and make mistakes at the back end of this season so he can learn from the mistakes, see what it is actually to run the team. So when it comes to the next season, or the mistakes are gone and by,
He's actually come out and defended his choice to bring in Leclerc, Matteo Binotto, saying that you need to be brave in races.
Brave?
No, I'm not joking.
Aye.
Brave. I think his English needs some work. He's confused with stupid and brave.
I'll tell you exactly what he said. I'll tell you. So on this, speaking to Sky F1, obviously, I think we made the right decision because you need to be brave enough to try get the maximum. There was a gap on Fernando. We knew it was tight. We knew it could have overtaken him with the new tyres and maybe taking the DRS and getting the extra speed on the straight. In the end, it was the right choice. Is he for real? We didn't get the fastest lap, so and we need to look at why in terms of Charles. It was the right choice.
What?
I mean, respectfully, that is deluded patter. Except that was the wrong call.
That is ridiculous.
Like, he's staying fifth, you make 10 points. He's fell to sixth. He's also had a 5-second penalty, making sure that even if he'd just overtaken Alonso in the end, he would have still been sixth. And at his fastest, he was still a second slower than Max Verstappen was in medium tyres. Like, it's
because he didn't have enough time to get the softs up and running. That's the problem.
That is the thinkings of a man who just clearly is run out of time for me.
Aye.
That's defending the indefensible. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's actually surprised me. Aye. He's either completely delusional or he's like in full desperation mode.
I mean, there's one thing I agree with him in that. You have to be brave in racing. I mean, at least he's got that.
That's true,
right? Aye. You know what I mean? But aye. I mean,
you also need to employ logical strategies.
Well, aye. Exactly. I don't know why.
He sounds like he's half conceding the championship. He's saying, looking at the Drivers' Championship, the gap to Max is very high. It's not sufficient for Charles to win all the races and finish ahead of him. So we need to count on Max not finishing races. Now, what are the chances of that, really? I think he knows it's done.
That tells me that they're going to push Charles to win every race, and Sainz is going to fucking crash into Max Verstappen every opportunity.
Cannonball! No, I don't think that's quite allowed. They might get put up for that strategy.
So, going the bend. Oh, he turned into me, sorry.
The fact that Carlos Sainz is outscoring him, well, I mean, obviously he's outscoring them with the engine penalty, but
I mean,
if you hear Sainz's engineer on the radio saying we're going to plan K, then you know that's kamikaze mode being engaged. It's time for Verstappen to run.
Plan K, we're going to plan K.
There'll just be
settings to plan K.
Plan K. When he's coming round past the pit wall, it'll be a white flag with a red dot in the middle.
Yes. There's suddenly be a drone playing through the PA.
Oh God. Oh Christ.
I mean, where did they end up today with Sainz? Was it plan D they eventually got to?
I think that was Leclerc, was it?
Was that Leclerc that got to plan D?
I don't know. One of the two
was in B.
There was a plan D from one of the, I mean,
Leclerc.
I get the need, the old fail to prepare to fail, but
aye.
Why are you getting to the fourth I don't know, man. I don't think it's going well if A, B, and C have exhausted themselves halfway through a race.
Plan D was just over the halfway mark, so you can see about 3/4 of the way the race done. And Plan D.
I don't know. I don't know. As a punter, are they executing different plans at different stages of the races? I don't know, but. Speaking as a punter, when you're in your fourth attempt at how to do well in the race, I don't know.
I think it's, for my sort of time watching Formula One, I think it's very common to go to a plan B and sometimes a C. They'll go in thinking, right, the optimum plan is a 2-stop, we do this, we do that. That's the quickest way to get from A to B. But then, depending on where other guys are running on the track, they kind of come in on the optimal laps, so then they switch to plan B, which might be like a 2-stop rather than a 1, or a 3 rather than a 2, or a whatever it is, their next best option. But for that to cascade to a plan D and the race isn't much more than halfway done, like something's went seriously wrong.
Like honestly, I've never heard of switch to plan D. Never. No. I've never until the day.
No.
Ferrari. What's going on, mate? Like, guys, come on. And I'm a Ferrari fan, and I'm just sitting here pissing myself laughing at them because I can't do anything else. I'm past the frustration stage. I'm just like, I fucking give up. Like,
I still think, though, the level of panic and falling apart of the seams has to be caused by Max Verstappen as well, by the way. I think he deserves a lot of love.
Oh, aye. He's
just
been
charged through the field, whether you like to accept or not. Like, that takes skill as well as a good car. Like,
Aye, he went through the field pretty rapid today. You could just see that his motor with that new engine, oh my, it was just
There's no competition.
no,
None.
So he just flew through, no bother.
Yep.
I
mean, helped at times by what was going on in front of him, but you can't take away the skill required.
Can't deny it. Aye. I don't think
pull off the overtakes and stuff.
He brings through. It was like Lewis Hamilton last year.
I was going to say it's just I was going to bring up the Hamilton thing at Brazil because certain people were pretty sore on his accomplishment there and how anybody in that car could have done it. But I still
stand by that. Thank you very much.
I respectfully don't, by the way. I'm all for giving credit where it's due.
No, I didn't say anybody. I didn't say
anybody on the grid.
I said most people on the grid. Thank you very much.
I'm pretty sure you said anybody in that grid.
Most. Most people.
Anyway.
Most people.
Anyway. Like this is the same argument. Like it's by far and away the fastest car, but you can't deny the skill required to get it for A to B.
You still need the human bit. That's right, mate. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Here's a question for you. The single season record for most wins is currently at 13 with Michael Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel. 13 in a season. Max is already at 9. There are 8 races left. Is it under threat?
Well,
aye.
I would say it's a certainty that he's going to equal it. And it's just a case of whether or not he decides to take a holiday or Sainz decides to take him out.
Barring... Aye. Unless we get that plan K. Barring his car just shit in the bed in a couple of races.
Mm-hmm.
I can see him at least, as you say there, Michael, equaling it.
Aye.
5 wins out of 8. You're talking.
Aye, 5.
Well, 4 wins out of 8. Sorry, it's 9. He's currently at, and it's 9. He's only got 4 to go to equal.
4 to equal.
I would, with 8 races to go, I would expect him to finish 6 or 7. I'd be shocked if he finished every one of them. Whether it's his car failing on him again, or whether it's an incident, somebody taking him out. I'm certain that at least one of the races something will happen that takes him out, and then the rest of them, like, it's just a case of whether or not he's going to win, and more often than not it's going to be a resounding yes.
I mean, I think next week as well, that's essentially another one of his home
Dutch Grand Prix. So, it's a heavy home backing.
I believe the seasons where Schumacher and Vettel hit that record are seasons where their car was utterly dominant.
Mm.
Oh, I mean, you've got to have that to be in that kind of form, like. Aye.
So the thing that I'm getting at is that I think this is the season for him to do it.
Aye.
You know what I mean? Like, I think
not a chance.
We're at a point now in this season where the gap is so far between Verstappen's car and everybody else. Even Perez, who should in theory have the same tools at his hands.
Aye, same team, theoretically.
He's not getting that same performance we can make. So, seemingly this is the year for Max to chase that target if he's ever going to do it.
I think that's going to be his kind of driving force now for the rest of this. I don't think he needs to worry about being challenged in the title race, as it were. Like,
he doesn't.
If you're him, are you worrying about the title race or are you chasing legendary status now? Is that
you wonder? Be chasing the legendary status.
You would. I think in his as an elite athlete, well, not athlete, but an elite sportsman.
Aye, he's pretty much won the drivers' championship. Do you know what I mean? Perez is the next one closest to him. He is 9. 90. Crap.
You doing some quick maths here?
This isn't even a
my
quick
brain
maths.
is went.
This is
absolutely doolally here. He is 93 points behind Max Verstappen. So Max Verstappen and Perez 93 points difference.
I mean, that is absolutely redonkulous.
he's closest. So, I mean, literally, for Perez to get close to Max would have to finish outside of the points for 6
About a
races,
month.
and Perez would have to win 6 races.
Nah,
Right, do you know what I mean? And then he would overtake him. So,
I said this about a month and a half ago that it was approaching the done stage already. Are we quite happy to accept that it is now completely done?
yes.
First place is done and dusted, and
Yeah.
second place isn't far away from it because Leclerc is tumbling. And there is a genuine. We spoke about it somewhat jokingly a few weeks back, but there is a genuine chance that both Mercedes will finish in front of both Ferraris.
Well, if you look at it in the constructors, there's only 41 points between it.
Well, if you look at it on the driver's side,
Oh, aye, and then that too. Obviously, if that's the
George
national
Russell is
constructor.
1 point behind Sainz, 16 points behind Leclerc.
Yep.
So he can genuinely finish above them, even though his car is isn't up to standard with their car. That just blows my mind. The
Mercedes
only thing
are
that
just so consistent. The Ferraris and the Red Bulls have had issues that the Mercedes haven't.
I was just going to say, the only thing that the Mercedes has over these cars is the reliability. And that's why they're so far up.
Yep.
And it's crazy to think that, I mean, Ferrari shouldn't be anywhere near Mercedes. Mercedes shouldn't be anywhere near Ferrari.
Aye.
With the cars that they have.
Yep.
There should be a clear gap between Red Bull and Ferrari and everybody else. But there's no, because Ferrari's
Ferrari.
one, unreliable. The cars are unreliable. The team's unreliable. They make stupid decisions. The drivers can be unreliable at times as well. Like, it's just what's going on at Ferrari.
It's just funny to think back to the excitement of the first race when we all said, wow, Ferrari look incredible.
Yep.
Mercedes look like they've stole a bloody result there. And now it's Mercedes hunting Ferrari doing. Like, because obviously it was the two Red Bull that ended out of the race because of engine failure.
Engine failures.
Hamilton finishes third just due to the fact that he's stuck at it for a whole race. Like, it's fucking wild. What a turnaround.
I mean, constructors is out the way. Paul, you said what? It's 41?
41 points between
41
Mercedes
points
and
between Ferrari and Mercedes. That will be down to next 2 races. They'll kind of be level, I would imagine.
Form continues. They've got a chance of catching, certainly. Aye.
I reckon they will.
Yeah,
I'd be shocked if they don't. Honestly, I think Mercedes is going to take second in the constructors.
Unless Ferrari really sorts stuff out.
Hamilton being out of that race today, that's meant that Ferrari have stretched a wee bit out. Like,
good point, actually.
Like that's literally
it. Crossed my mind, because if you think if he was still in the race, he would probably finished.
Probably top 5, Harvey. I mean, it's like you said, he had an opportunity. Aye.
I was going to say about 5th.
Aye, he probably had an opportunity to attack the top 3.
He was in front of Russell.
Aye.
There's every chance he would have continued to run in front of him. Maybe Russell would have nipped past him, if depending on the strategies.
Aye, depending on the way that the pit stops and that.
So it's at 12 and 10. So it would have been very likely like 12 for Hamilton, 10 for Russell, or the other way about.
Aye. Yeah. Which
So that would have, in the drivers, that would have Hamilton sitting on like 156 or 158 points. So he'd have been nipping at the heels of Russell and Sainz on the drivers' side of things. I'm not sure how I'm not 100% sure how the points work with the constructors. Does it tell me that somewhere? In terms of how much points the constructors get for the drivers finishing? Do you just add the points together?
Aye, basically. Aye. So
I think it's just the same.
Constructors is just an accumulation of what your drivers are getting basically throughout the season.
Right.
So So like the day it would have been 26 and 18 for Red Bull.
Right.
Started being, 44?
Mm-hmm.
So Mick Schumacher has been released for his, I don't know if he's been released, but he's no longer at F1, a Ferrari Academy driver. So there's something else. I mean, are we in danger? I think we actually genuinely might be in danger if never seeing Mick Schumacher in a decent motor.
It is possible. Aye.
Aye.
I think next season is going to be very important in the career of Mick Schumacher.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever he ends up, he needs to put in a massive performance to make himself desirable to the top teams.
Yep. I mean, to be honest, if you're being honest with yourself and you're a, let's say, a Ferrari, and one of your drivers, Sainz, you get rid of Sainz. You've got the choice between Norris and Mick Schumacher. Like, you're going to take Norris, aren't you?
I go Mick.
Because he's...
Norris isn't a number two. He's far too pig-headed and competitive.
Aye, but this is the thing. Ferrari doesn't really have a number two. So if you're the boss, like... They should, but they don't. So if you're the Ferrari boss and you're looking at, right, what have these two done on the track? You're going to go Norris.
On experience and achievement, Norris
exactly
is an obvious one, but I just think in terms of the character, in theory, you're looking to fill a number two position.
Theory, maybe,
but I know, I get what your point is.
Ferrari loves the bullish drivers as well, and that's exactly what Norris is too. So, I mean, aye.
I don't know. We'll see.
You think about it logically, you would think Norris, but who knows? I mean, the fiascos, it's like Alpine and McLaren both saying that they have rights to Piastri. Piastri seems to believe that he's going to McLaren, but apparently he signed something with Alpine last year in November. So now it's going to this contract board where they got to figure it out. I believe that's tomorrow. They've got to have that. So the next couple of days we should see where Piastri goes, and then that will play a part where Mick goes, I would assume. Unless he's already decided he's got to stay at Haas for another year, I don't know. Interesting to see why he's no longer an academy driver of Ferrari.
Aye, I'd love to know what went on there. Whose decision was that?
It was Mick just looking and saying, they're a joke, I don't want to go and drive for them. That's possible as well. Like, if you're a driver and you're seeing all the fuck ups that they're making, do you really want to go there? Like, do you know what I mean?
Even just the turnover. Like, until we got to Sainz and Leclerc, every season, number two became number one and there was a new number two in. Like, it was just brutal. It was as if, like, the drivers were being blamed for the lack of success. When really it was the team didn't have a good enough car. So, going on that, like, you would need to be a massive sort of die-hard Ferrari guy to still want to go there, or think you're the next superstar and you're really going to stand out and you're going to be the difference maker, which I suppose a lot of the drivers do have that kind of ego about them.
I was going to say they do.
It was already kind of less desirable because of that, and then now with the just absolute comical performances that they're putting out in terms of decision making and what's the word? Strategies that they're using or no using, or think they're using but they're no, or whatever's going on there exactly, I don't know. So they're at a point where it's just like, why would anybody want to drive for them while they're set up like that?
Yep.
Got to wonder what's going through Leclerc's head.
Man.
He's got to feel so let down.
Well, aye.
For where they started the season
to where he is now.
He's barely put a foot wrong. He's made maybe 2 or 3 mistakes the whole season.
I think it's 2. And both of them cost points, but the team is
just doing them.
Nothing to what the team's done for them. Aye. You'd be gutted if you Leclerc. If I was Leclerc, I would definitely want answers. Like if I was Leclerc, even Sainz as well, I'd be like, why is this happening? Like who's to blame for this? We need to get, or what is the reason for all this? We need to get to the bottom of this, sort it out quick. I mean, that's what should have been done before about 8 races ago, or even more than that. But it's a bit late for it now. I mean, that's why I said, if I'm the boss of Ferrari right now, I'm the owner. Sorry, I will, Binotto can leave. Let's get some fresh faces in here. The season's already done. It's time to move on. Whoever comes in, they're under no pressure for the rest of the season because it's already done. Pretty much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get there and learn.
What you were talking about earlier, man, that is fairly sound strategy in terms of the business side. The season's effectively done in byway. I mean, okay, if you can improve performances week to week, you can maximise what you get out of the season, but the chances of winning anything's done in byway. So it would make sense to restructure now, assuming that there's going to be a restructure, because you would definitely like to think there is. So assuming that is the case, then now would be a great time to do it, so that there's actually a certain amount of time available to let the new principal make the changes and the hiring and the firing and whatever needs to be done in preparation for next season.
Yep.
But it's wild, man.
It's a bit wild. That's the word, wild. So next week is the Dutch Grand Prix. Do you like this track?
I don't know, like it.
I don't really have an opinion either way, to be honest.
It's just very run of the mill kind of. There's no real big standout things about this, off the top of my head, anyway. Aye.
I mean,
it's fairly short. I'd say it's not a long track.
I like how it cambers and stuff. The inclines and that. I do like that. On the turn, one of the turns, it has where it inclines and then declines. I like that. It's pretty cool. I wish we had more of them, more corners like that in the circuits, but I don't mind it. I don't really. Red Bull looked like they would do well in this circuit as well. I would have said Ferrari, but
aye,
who knows these days, man.
You would think with the twists and turns it would favour the kind of high downforce motors.
Yeah. But who knows? Hopefully Haas, but again, Haas look like they've fell off a cliff.
They have, basically,
aye. They've just got to a certain point and decided to jump back off. Yeah, that's my way. Which is a shame. Shame for the boys.
Aye, they seem to have just kind of this fell out them a wee bit, hasn't it? Normal services resumed with the likes of Alpine and the like, and McLaren kind of filling up that midfield.
I think a lot of it just comes down to sort of budget sizes and team sizes and resources would be the word to use.
And teams like Alpine and McLaren have vastly superior resources.
The more teams have been able to bring in updates and make adjustments, the teams at the back end, like Haas, like they just haven't been able to develop quite as much. They've had some peaks and troughs. Like they've had some weekends where they were phenomenal, scoring really highly, but then they've also had some really low moments as well where they've either tried an update and it's not worked, or they've just not had an update when everybody that was a direct rival has had an update and they've pulled away from them.
So, at the start of the season, I asked everybody some questions. I asked a couple of questions. So one of the things is who do you think will win the Drivers' Construction Championship? And so Sandy said Verstappen and Red Bull.
Good call.
That looks like that is going to happen. Paul, you said Verstappen and Ferrari.
Oh, right, okay.
I said Verstappen and Ferrari as well. And Mick, I'll tell you in a second.
He wrote down Sandy in mind. He didn't write down yours.
Michael said
Pretty sure I can.
Hamilton, and I had Mercedes and Ferrari.
Jesus, we did not give enough respect to Red Bull.
No. I thought Max Verstappen would win the championship and Ferrari just because their car and, I thought they'd be finishing like above Perez and fighting, and Leclerc and Verstappen would be fighting, but I thought Verstappen would probably win the drivers and then Ferrari would win the constructors, but how wrong was that? Well, half of it anyway.
We got really excited about Ferrari to begin with. We really did. There was a bit carried away, thinking.
I remember
Definitely.
I very correctly predicted that Ferrari would drop off. I could never have imagined that it would have been this severe. I'd never thought in a million years they would be getting in their own road quite as much as they're. But that's like, in first kind of viewing pre-season, like it's hard to say that Leclerc and Ferrari wouldn't be champs. But I did suspect that they would drop off and everybody else would be able to catch up, fill in that gap. I expected Mercedes to make a bigger leap than what they have. They've been as consistent as I thought they would be. I remember speaking about the consistency. That was my main reasoning for the putting them down for constructors. But I really thought they would make up the gap better than what they have.
I remember you actually talking them up, saying that they would come back in over time, which was a sound theory, to be honest. But
it did just, like they have made improvements. It just hasn't been enough.
Definitely, but I mean, Red Bull have been making their own improvements on a car that was already top notch.
It's like Paul says. Like me specifically, I did not think Red Bull as a team would hold it together the way they have this year and make the improvements that they have. I thought they would be better than Ferrari in terms of consistency, but I didn't think they would be able to keep up the performance. And other than sort of random, somewhat unpredictable failings where the cars just stopped working for whatever reason, it's seeming like it's a different reason every time. Outside of the kind of performance things, like they have been the team to beat.
Most definitely have. I mean, I didn't think at this point of the season we'd be saying we have a clear winner. I thought it was going to go not all the way down to the wire like last year. I thought it would probably be a couple of races to go. It could go,
we were so excited in the early days of this season talking about how It's just like this. We've got a proper 2-horse race in terms of the constructors, and like there's 4, 5, 6 drivers that can be competitive and winning races, and nope, that's went to shit.
I think it's important to remember that these kind of tight seasons happen once every now and then, and the Hamilton Verstappen season definitely set a high standard, like a high bar.
I still think next season it will be a lot tighter. Next season is when we'll see a real dogfight.
I'd like to think so.
Aye,
but no.
So that time, our teams must have enough data to put out a decent car.
The scary thing is, though, with Max Verstappen is that I genuinely believe last season the reason it became so tight in the end is because he was scared of winning, and Hamilton had been there and done it before so many times, which allowed him to come back into the race. You've got that Shackleton Alpha, Max Verstappen now, and he's in the best car. He has all the natural talent as a driver. I genuinely think you could be looking at domination for years. If Red Bull hold up their end with the constructors, like with the development of their car, then what's to say that Max Verstappen doesn't go on and win like 3, 4, 5 years in a row here? Like,
it's entirely possible that we've got a similar case to Vettel's run.
It happened with Vettel. Hamilton's had a similar kind of run too, hasn't he? Really,
I think the thing with Hamilton and Mercedes, it was more a consistent, like year on year, they continued to improve. So even though the other teams were catching, seemingly, Mercedes were always they were edging. Whereas with Vettel's short run, and I think conceivably Max is in the kind of midst of that as well, where the team have just got to a point where they've got this car that is just so far in front, seemingly, that they have the ability to just make incremental improvements, and until the other teams catch them, which they likely will, like Mercedes will catch back up to them. But
eventually,
I don't think there's anybody that's going to challenge Max in that car until the improvements they catch up, and that could be another 2 seasons.
The thing is, when we sit here and talk about it, think about it, is this is a new season for everybody. Everybody's got a new car essentially.
Yep.
And Red Bull have nailed it pretty much. Now all they need to do is just work on small improvements, where other teams have to work on bigger improvements. Do you know what I mean?
They have to take risks.
So they're going to have to take risks. They're going to have to try this, and that. Whereas Red Bull are like, maybe we change, small things, man, and that's so they could, as you say, have a car that's dominating for the next couple of years.
Yeah,
hopefully not.
There's also the thing of that, because obviously there's with the Formula 1 cars, there's this kind of balance between the power unit and drivetrain, and then the aerodynamic package, like the shell or the chassis or whatever you want to call it. And there's obviously the trade-offs, like between kind of high power and high downforce to lower power and low downforce, and how you balance all that sort of stuff out. And I think that with the aerodynamic designs specifically, there's a ceiling. So the question is, did Red Bull nail that design to the point where they are millimetres for their ceiling? And so that a team like, say, Mercedes, where like seemingly they've got it so wrong, but maybe they're just nowhere near the ceiling, and so they've got massive improvements that they could make that potentially take them past Red Bull if their ceiling's higher. Whereas Red Bull, maybe they make some big improvements, like going into next season, but like, like their ceiling's right there, like they can't really go any further, they can't get any more performance out of that package. I mean, I don't think it's going to be drastic like that, but that is something to think about. Like, as much as Red Bull, they're killing it as a team, like credit where credit's due, but it's impossible for us to know how much an improvement they can continue to make.
That's true. Also true. It's going to be a very interesting next couple of years. That's all I can say.
Definitely. And I genuinely hope Ferrari can sort their shit out.
Oh, me too.
I'd love for them to be the performance they had at the start of the season. I'd love them to have that start to finish next season.
Aye, that would be something for us. It would be fantastic. Just before we go here, one thing, Michael, I'm asking to be with you, but specifically, Hamilton has a record of every season he's competed, he's won a race.
Yep.
Do you think he wins a race this season?
Yes. Okay. Consistency. Oh, it comes down to consistency.
Right. Paul?
Well, I don't know. Consistency, yes, but it's under threat.
I think it's under. I don't think he will.
I'm not saying they won't.
I would point to the fact that Hamilton was on the podium for four or five races in a row there, and two second places in a row. Like that, if that obviously this week is a serious blip in that, he made a complete arse it. But if that consistency can resume, and Ferrari continue to get in their own way, and then Red Bull have an issue, or Sainz goes for Plank A, then the door's open for Hamilton and Russell.
So, if the reason why I said no is I don't see any drastic that happen. All right, obviously they're consistent, they're up there, but I just don't see anything like that happening. So I think it's going to be for the rest of the season. I think you're going to have Max Verstappen winning. I could see him winning like 5 or 6 races if I'm being honest, and then the other ones could be a mix between Leclerc and Perez, unless there's a crash or engine failures and that. I don't see them.
I'm in complete agreement with you. So I have more faith that something will happen.
Aye. Well, aye. So you're a Hamilton mega fan.
It's the bad belief.
Both came full circle.
Serious sound though. If the consistency comes back and he's up and running in places, who knows? Could be a puncture, could be a spin. Anything can happen. So
if I'm being really clear and blunt, I firmly believe that a Mercedes will win a race come the end of the season. I think the likelihood is just through the consistency and experience and just the kind of logical thinking of how they normally finish, it's more likely that it will be Hamilton than Russell. But it's entirely possible. Possible it'll be Russell that happens to be in the right place at the right time, because that's what it'll be. It'll be the fact that they're in the right place at the right time. They've made less mistakes than everybody in front of them who's fell away. I've got a question.
Yes, question.
Is what was his name again? Mario
Binotto.
I'm terrible with names. Will Binotto still be Ferrari team principal come Brazil?
Yes.
Probably. If I'm going to be honest with you, I don't see them change. If they don't change him after this week, well, I mean, they should have changed him a couple of weeks ago, to be honest. But they haven't done it this far. I don't see him changing it. I mean, who knows? I've been wrong.
The comments that you read out, Paul, make it kind of abundantly clear to me that he's not going to walk.
No. He's definitely not walking.
Like he's going to need firmly pushed with two hands.
He's staying there to the bitter end. That's what he's doing. He's the captain that goes down with his ship.
Aye. No, he's the captain that takes the ship down with him.
But why?
That's how bad it's going.
Oh, man. Aye. Who knows? So, On that note, we'll love yous and leave yous. If yous haven't checked out the AEW Mash and the MMA Mash, I implore you to do so. Again, it was a very fun week. We talked about, on MMA Mash, we talked about one FC's very first card that was brought to light in the American audience, that being one FC 1 Prime. But that was a very fun card, lots of knockouts. So check that out. And AEW Mash, we just talked about everything AEW and upcoming pay-per-views, etc. But it was, again, very fun, as usual. So please check them out. All right. Cheery bye, drivers.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.